Welcome to today's episode of The Creative Light. I have a wonderful human being with me today who is someone I met at an event, and we talked and we went deep quite quickly. And at the end of that conversation, I said, "Hey, do you want to be on my podcast?" And here she is, Erifili. Can you please introduce yourself to the world?
Of course. Thank you for having me. Let's introduce myself. So I'm the founder and CEO of this company called the Z-Link, which is a global Gen Z-led marketing agency and market research firm that basically specializes in connecting brands with Gen Z. So we are a fully Gen Z team, and we help brands communicate with our generation through doing a lot of research on generational behaviors, things like that. And that includes marketing strategy, content production, everything in between. I'm also a writer and a published author, and I write a lot about the future of work and how our generation and really anyone right now can build careers that they enjoy, that provide them with a lot of flexibility, freedom, fulfillment, and ownership by using all the tools and resources they've got available at their disposal right now to basically build unconventional careers and structure them in a more human way. I'd say that's the main gist of it.
Okay, so I have to ask you a few questions here because
hmm
you mentioned Gen Z, so I can't help but ask the rude question and say, how old are you?
I'm 25.
You're 25. You've written a book at
Yeah.
the age of 25. You have your own business. How old is your business?
5 years old.
5 years old. So you started your business at the young age of 20.
Yeah.
And how many people work for you?
Around 20 something, 22, 23.
That's insane. I started my business at the age of 26, and back then, very, very long time ago, about 20 years ago, that was considered young. I
And
think
it still is. It still very much is, I would say.
But congratulations. What an incredible CV at such a young age. You know
Thank
what's
you.
You're welcome. You know what's interesting? Because I just came off a coaching call with a client who is
hmm
focusing on Gen X.
Oh,
And here
nice.
you
That's so cool. We need to have a chat.
completely on the different spectrum. And I asked her, wait, so what am I? Because I think I get confused with Gen
Yeah.
Z, Gen X, millennials, Gen Alpha. Is that
Yeah, it is confusing. Like, it's confusing. I don't even know all of it. So what
what
are
would you
you?
classify? Well, I would classify myself as a millennial, but I'm
hmm
born 81. And she's like, no, you're Gen X. I'm like, I don't feel like a Gen X. Like Gen
No,
X
I
is
don't
before
think
it.
you're. I think I would think you're a millennial as well, because I know my parents are Gen X and they're born in like 69. So like that's quite a
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's quite a difference for sure. What's the cusp for Gen Z?
Um, most like there's no universal source of truth with these things, but most people tend to see it as 96, 97 sometimes, up to I don't know really what the youngest is. Maybe 2010-ish, 2008, 2010.
Okay,
hmm
nice. And what made you start the business?
I was basically, I was studying art history at university, but at the same time, I was freelancing in social media marketing, social media strategy, and things like that, which I got into quite young when I was maybe like 14, 15. A whole other story. But I was always working in this field alongside my studies and everything else. And I ended up sort of being given a lot of responsibility quite early on. Like when I was 19 or 20, I was responsible for creating the social media strategy for my country, Greece. And that was only a team of very young people. And like I kept sort of being in these rooms when it came to social media and strategy, where I had this responsibility, and it was one of the only fields where I would see very young teams. And I just became quite interested in why companies were so keen to have digital natives sort of run their digital marketing, which of course is quite intuitive. And then around 2019, all of the big consultancies and corporate people started launching their research into Gen Z and what Gen Z wants and like what differentiates our generation and what traits are unique to Gen Z, how companies can work with them, etc. And I was like, wow, this is a huge field. Like McKinsey was like, this is our Gen Z report, like twice a year. It was just going a little bit crazy at the start. And I think I just have had the idea of like checking whether there's anyone focusing on social media marketing from a Gen Z perspective for companies that are interested in reaching Gen Z. And there was no one at the time. So I was like, maybe I should launch this. But I had no experience in business. So I just um, kind of, very much bootstrapped, started very slow, learned on the go. And yeah, here we are now.
Here we are now. So you learn on the go. Is there any one particular moment that stands out for you in your business life? You're kind of like, wow, that happened. Oh shit, that happened. Is there something that immediately comes to mind and go, yeah, it seems like something came to mind?
There's honestly so much just because I just never expected, there's no reason why it wouldn't go well. Like, I'm quite an optimistic person, but I also just never expected things to go so well, I suppose. It was just a mix of, I think I'm quite a resourceful person, so I always knew I would figure it out in some way, but I think I definitely keep being surprised along the way when I do figure it out. So, one thing that comes to mind is, I guess, like when I found out I was on Forbes 30 under 30 and I was 23, and I was just on the youngest category alongside like some incredible young athletes and like people that I knew and admired and like would never be in the same room as. But I was like, what am I doing here? It felt insane. Um, that was definitely like kind of a surreal moment. Yeah, just when I end up in these kind of rooms and opportunities with people that in my eyes are like super admirable and super accomplished at such a young age.
Mm. I often go to a sensitive topic whenever I'm on these podcasts, and I see your career and I'm like, you've worked with some major brands. I'm going to ask you some questions. We can edit out anything you don't want to talk about.
Let's do it. Very happy to.
But you're working with some major brands. You say you represented Greece, like you were doing the social media marketing for Greece. Like, that's a huge responsibility in itself. But what does it take to get those big contracts, like the big names that you're working with? And please do mention some of them if you may.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think that's a sensitive topic. Like, very happy to.
No, I'm going to go to the sensitive topic later, which is money.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And well, what does it take? Partly, like my friends and I joke about it sometimes. Like, it takes like the audacity. Like, you need to just like have the audacity to reach out to someone that has no reason to give you an opportunity and be like, "Hey, can I do this by any chance?" And that was like what I did with the Greece thing. Like, there was Greece had its first chief creative officer back during COVID, and it was this man, Steve Ronakis, that's like incredible, had a huge career at Apple, NASA, like helped launch the iPhone, like really impressive. I think Greek Canadian guy. And I heard he was in Greece. I was in Greece during COVID, and I heard he was like kind of leading this project with a team of young people to rebrand the country, like a nation branding initiative. And I was like, you know what? Like, if anyone's responsible for doing this social media strategy, like, I want to do it. So I reached out to him. He was like, yeah, come to my office. We'll have a chat. And that was, I had just launched the Z-Link. It was probably like 2 weeks in. Like, it was, I didn't have the Z-Link as anything to like support me by that point, as like a name or whatever. And it worked. So it's just about really reaching out and being like, kind of always like having faith that even if it's something big and intimidating, you're gonna figure it out. First of all, because we've got the tools to figure anything out on the job. Like, nothing, especially in marketing and these kinds of industries, nothing is gonna be that hard. Like, I find that you might as well put yourself in these situations where you're given the responsibility and you'll learn so much while you're on the job. So that's always how I've gone about it. And then with clients of ours at the Z-Link, you mentioned some names. We've worked with like Pepsi, with Deloitte, with IKEA, some like kind of corporate names. And these are all instances where they reached out. And I think the reason why is because we kind of got clear on positioning ourselves without undermining our expertise, especially like after a couple of years of being in the business, being like, this is something we can do. And this is a niche where we know we specialize and we've got so much information to give these companies. So like, let's not undervalue that and make sure that it's clear for anyone who's looking for the right person to do this.
Mhm.
Even though obviously you're like a 20-something person just being like, wow, I can't believe I'm doing this.
You said without undermining your expertise. Why did that phrasing is really interesting. You explained part of it in what you said afterwards, but the phrasing catches me a bit. What do you mean by that?
I think that especially, I mean, I don't know if it's a Gen Z thing, but just because I write a lot about careers and personal branding and all of that, I talk to a lot of people and friends that are always like, they're always more experienced and better at things than they let across. Like
Mhm.
they're always like, it's never really, it's like the opposite of bragging. Like everyone is just, especially like in creative industries in our generation, especially women, as you know, much more likely to be like to undervalue their skills and what they can do in professional settings. And then you'll realize that there's a man with half your experience positioning himself as an expert, getting those opportunities that you would be better for. And of course, like this is not a gender thing, but it also is. But it's just, yeah, it's so many things that come into play. It's age, it's gender, it's like where you've been brought up and how. So I think that's something I see a lot. And so working with a young team, and for many people in my team, it's their first job. I try to make sure that they are very aware of what they're capable of and they don't downplay that.
How do you help them be aware of what they are capable of? Like what does your leadership style look like?
I think it comes very much from like what teams I have worked in before and seeing how I don't like to be led and how I do like to be led. So I kind of um like take a lot from what I've seen works for me and how I feel when I'm working. So for me, my leadership style, I would say, is very much about like how my team feels. And at the core of it is that I don't want anyone to feel miserable at their job and to feel like they're not good enough or to feel like when they've made a mistake, it's the end of the world. So I would say it's very empathetic and very human at the core. And so I think that kind of makes people feel supported. I'm very happy giving my team responsibility for big projects when they're just starting out, when I know that they're capable. And I know that maybe in most other settings or traditional agency settings and big corporate, they wouldn't be given this responsibility. And I think that's also one of the best parts of working in a small team is that everyone learns so much faster and develops so much faster because like in a traditional corporate career, like you're in your set role for 2 years and then in your next set role for 2 years and your responsibilities are so fixed. But in a startup in this sort of environment, you can just like go straight in the deep and be like, okay, I've got to figure it out. And then you just grow, I think, a lot faster professionally.
Yeah, I like that. But what I find the question that comes to mind right now is you mentioned that a lot of them have their first jobs, which lends me to the question of all of them, are they Gen Z or do you have a diversity in age as well?
All of our team, I'd say, is Gen Z. Maybe we've got a couple of young millennials as well,
Yeah.
that are late 20s. And that's not like it's we've never turned away anyone that's older. Like it's not like very fixed, but it's just I think that we get so much interest from Gen Z to work in an agency like this that um we always end up finding really talented creative people that are young. So it just works quite naturally.
Yeah, I get that.
Hmm.
I was just wondering if there's a gap in knowledge almost because if you don't have the other age representation, how do you get the differences? Like it's through the contrast we can find the difference and but then again maybe you don't need it in the business, you see it around.
Yeah, I've never found that it's something that's lacking. And of course, something I'm aware of. But we often work with older clients. I mean, very most of the time that, aren't in our age group. And we always have um, sort of brainstorm sessions and strategies together. And that's really, really fun. So that aspect of sort of intergenerational collaboration is always there. And then I find that within the team, like we've really got everything we need. Um, when it comes to what we have to deliver. But this is always a very fun aspect when we're working with older clients, and it's sort of very much like a dialogue, and we get to brainstorm on strategy together and get a lot of different perspectives.
Yeah. Let's go to money. Should we talk money? So you start your business. You're 20 years old.
How do you fund it?
How do you fund it? Or how did you price your first? Do you remember your first gig? Maybe it was the one with Greece.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So my first one officially through the Z-Link was this little fashion magazine that we just charged like maybe 1/6 of what we would charge now. And by we, I mean me, because it was just me for the first like 6 months, right? Um, yeah. So I mean, I had no idea how to do anything in terms of pricing and running a business. All I knew was how to do the marketing part and the content part. And so the business part I just figured out through trial and error on the way. And the agency space is not very transparent when it comes to fees. You'll find that like if you reach out to an agency and you're like, hey, what are your rates for this? They'll probably be like, we better jump on a call first. Like they just won't tell you. Um, so it's hard to know. And I mean, through the years, I've just figured that out by really trialing things and seeing what people say yes to and what they say yes to too quickly. And, yeah, yeah. And in terms of how I funded the Z-Link at the start, I, so I, yeah, very transparently, when I first started, I had just moved back to Greece because it was peak of COVID or like the start of COVID. So I left university to continue it remotely from Greece for a year. So ended up like just living with my mom, no rent to pay. That's one thing. Second thing is I was working part-time I was always doing part-time jobs alongside university. So I was saving like that. And then to start an agency, I really didn't need much money. I mean, you need maybe like £200 for like tech and website, stuff like that. And then so 1 year into the Z-Link, a bit less than 1 year in, I started this job. I was still in university, by the way, and I started this job in Silicon Valley remotely as head of social media at this kind of very fast growing startup that was like, and they've been like profiled on Wired and stuff because the way they work is, all of our executive team gets paid 6 figures and everyone gets paid exactly the same as the CEO and everyone gets raises together. So it's super transparent salary system. And I was lucky because I was 21 and they were like, here's more money than you've ever seen. And especially coming from Greece where like, I mean, like literally unthinkable to me to be getting paid 6 figures at that point as a 21-year-old when like a high executive salary in Greece is like, I don't know, like a couple grand, you know? So that was really like a big, big help and also showed me so much about what's possible career-wise and how much you don't know is possible. Like I basically had so much against me in terms of my background, my upbringing, my degree was in art history. Like, you know what I mean? I had no business being there. But I think just discovering these opportunities taught me so much. Just seeing that existed and was accessible to me is what's led me to talk and research so much about the future of work today. So I did this job for 2 years and it basically helped me invest into the Z-Link because I didn't want to raise money from investors. And that was great. So that was like the first 2 or 3 years of the Z-Link, how it allowed me to scale. And it coincided with getting a lot of press, starting to get bigger names as clients, and then eventually get bigger projects so that we could just be at a good enough place, really.
And how do you get your clients?
And I'd say they're all inbound, except for the occasional like cold DM that goes well. But I kind of function on the belief that as long as you put yourself out there authentically, you will attract the right people and opportunities. And I try to live by that in the sense that I just try to be as helpful and genuine as I can in public and express myself when it comes to what I like, what I'm learning, what I know about the business, the industry, put myself out there, personal branding, if you will. And that tends to bring up all of our best clients. So it's really like LinkedIn usually, Substack sometimes. Yeah.
It's interesting because I mean, your nature, how you were, and how you and I started talking is pretty much the reason that I then wanted to continue to connect with you, because it wasn't just chit chat. We actually went deep and had interesting conversations,
Yeah.
which doesn't always happen when you go to a conference. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
what
No,
do you
it was
do? And then
great.
that's it.
Uh-huh.
And I
Yeah.
think when you say showing up, as your genuine self, you absolutely do that. I can confirm that you do.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. That's great to hear because so do you. Like, I loved our conversation. I love when I stumble upon someone like you where I really leave feeling energized. And like, that was such a good, way to spend my time.
I agree. Like, I felt exactly the same.
Hmm.
I want to tap into rejections because as you have had your business for this long or lived as long as you have, there's so many rejection points that probably are happening. I'm assuming there are some along the way. How is there one in particular that you can think of that hurt, or how do you handle them? Like, I'll just stack all the questions, but
Yeah.
spill beans.
So in like recent years,
Mhm.
I can't really think of a rejection that really hurt. And I think it's because maybe it's such a part of running a business. Like some people will just ignore you. Some will reply. Like it's part of it. I really don't like take it to heart or think twice about it. But before that, um, one I think probably the main one I always think about is that when I was 19, I did this. That was before the Z-Link was even an idea, but I did this Google program, where you're selected to go to their headquarters in Dublin and you do this whole digital marketing thing with 50 other people. And it's just like, kind of like an apprenticeship at Google. And I was like, oh my God, I want to work here. This is the best thing ever. And then they sort of speed run you through getting an interview for an actual role there through this program, right? So part of the program is they also train you for it, and they're like, since you're here, you're also gonna get interviewed, and maybe you'll get a permanent role. And anyway, didn't get the role, and I was like destroyed. I was so sad. I because I literally thought that this was my dream job and like the best thing ever, and like I made it this far. Can't believe I missed it. Um, and obviously it's extremely selective, but I think only a couple of people from our cohort got accepted, and I think they're still there. Um, but yeah, back when that happened, I was just like, they didn't give me a good reason. They were just like, you need more digital marketing experience. And at that point, I genuinely thought that at 19, like I had collected enough digital marketing experience, like as much as you can by that age. Like,
Mhm.
so I was like, I messed it up. Anyway, yeah, so I was super upset. Um, but like, as you know, rejection is redirection. I definitely think it's for the best. And I ended up going back to Google for startups in London last year to do a talk on personal branding, which was quite a fun little full circle moment, as you can
Mhm.
imagine.
Yes.
But yeah, that was like, I think it's kind of like I wouldn't have started my business. I wouldn't have done anything I've done now, and I would have been on a completely different path. So yeah.
You think that you wouldn't start your business, like, even though you would have gone down the corporate route?
I don't know, because I
Yeah.
think like starting off on Google is a very comfortable
Yeah.
corporate route.
It's true.
And I mean, I think you've got like your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and laundry, and everything you need in the company, and you're having like um incredible people around you and a fun job, and you're like, corporate life is great. So I don't know what it would have taken for me to
Mm.
realize I ever wanted to start a business, because it definitely, I used to think that like it's not for me or it's not something that I would do.
Mm. And now,
Yeah.
would you go back to corporate?
No. I literally could never.
What do you think
Yeah.
mixes like the what keeps you motivated
In general.
in general, like to live life?
Yeah. Um, um, there's a lot. So I think one of my core motivations is that um, I really want to give myself a good life. Like like I think I'm here and should get to have a good time. And like I think that's kind of funny answer, but it's very real to me. It's like I'm motivated by wanting to do what's right by me. Like I want to take care of myself. Um, and I think when you love yourself and you want to take care of yourself, you're intrinsically motivated to do what's good for you. And that means work hard, work smart. Um, so I'm quite self-driven in that sense. Like I don't want to be what's holding me back. Like if there's any obstacle, I don't want it to come from me. So that really motivates me to be quite consistent. Um, I'd say that's the main thing. Yeah.
So a good life. And when people are listening to this, some might say, well, that's a very egotistical way to live your life.
hmm
How would you respond to that?
I mean, I think that you really can't pour from an empty cup. And like, I think like and literally I would love to have this conversation with someone that genuinely thinks it is, because I like, I think that for me, at least personally, all I know is that I can't do good work or do anything good in the world if I'm not taking care of myself first. So I need to have an egotistical approach to that, because to me that's loving yourself. I think we're taught to be selfless beyond anything else,
Mhm.
and I think you need to be selfless, um, but you also need to learn to actually take care of yourself and love yourself and value that. And I think that's how you learn to trust yourself and build real confidence and genuinely like enjoy life by knowing that you've got your own back and you will do what's right for you. Like it's so good to build that and to know that like whatever happens, I know I've got my back. Like I know I will really do what's right for me even if it's difficult. So I find that super valuable. And then I also know that like when it comes to what success actually is, a lot of people haven't thought of what success means to them at all, right? Until it's too late and until they've reached all the markers of success that they think they were aiming for, to realize that they're actually miserable. So I don't see what the point of that is genuinely. I don't
Mhm.
see what the point is of reaching someone else's success to the point where you end up miserable and unhappy in the life that you've built. So I think taking the time to like really look inwards, if some people consider that selfish, and say, what actually makes me feel good and what's the path to get there? Like, what does success feel like to me day to day? And then build based on that.
Mm.
hmm
Is this a sentiment that's shared by more Gen Z? Is this like a Gen Z attitude, or is this unique to you? Do your
Uh,
research.
yeah.
Come
I
back to
mean,
me in a week.
that's a funny one. I think it's probably shared more by Gen Z than previous generations. I haven't researched this very specifically,
Mhm.
but I find that um, fulfillment is one of the main things that Gen Z looks for in a job. That's based
Mhm.
on our research. So that part of it, we can point to and say that fulfillment tends to be more important than say impact or job security or whatever.
Mhm.
So I think that's quite an individualistic approach, but at the same time, I think it's just because a lot of Gen Z is realizing how important it is to be personally aligned and fulfilled in order to do anything else in the world. So
Yeah.
I think like you'll do better work and you'll accomplish so much more and create a bigger impact when you are aligned with what you're doing.
Yeah. I want to add to this because for anyone listening who's misconstruing it, and I'm going to make an assumption, you can correct me if I've understood this wrong. The loving yourself is not at the expense of others, correct? Like you're
Of
not meant to
course.
be taking from others. It's not that
Of
you're
course.
putting yourself first while stamping someone else down, right?
Never.
I
Never.
think
I
it could
think,
be, go ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
No, no, I was just going to say, I think that when someone hears this, they might go like, well, that's that's a very good, I'm just playing the devil's advocate. There are plenty of people who be like, wow, that's so amazing. Like I think that I'm like, wow, if only I had this thinking way before
Mm,
than having to come to it now. Like we're late. Like all of the millennials are late bloomers, putting everyone else first. We're raised by the boomers who are just like, you know what, you're here for others, you're not here for yourself. Whereas I think you've got millennial parents who probably are actually instilling a different sense. Maybe I'm assuming here, but like generally speaking, I would say I instill to my child a different sense of well-being than my parents would have, and to actually consider the individual, the, the well-being of the individual first is quite important,
hmm
and you're doing that.
Yeah, yeah. It's exactly as you say. And I also think that usually, like people tend to think quite like in extremes, right? Like they would hear this and be like, "Oh my God, does this mean like stumping on others?" Like, of course not. Of course it doesn't. Like usually because you're raised in the opposite direction, you actually just have to take a few steps towards a direction of actually caring for yourself. I mean, I definitely just grew up being much more of a people pleaser
Mm.
than a me pleaser, And I mean, it didn't occur to me to consider what I wanted in so many areas until I was like, I don't know, 22 or something. And I think this applies especially to people that are like that, that definitely will never really end up stomping on others. It's
Mm.
more about just like making sure that like we know you're not going to do that. We know you're not going to be taking from others, but actually make sure you take some steps towards caring for yourself.
Yeah.
Um instead of being all the way in the other direction. So yeah, I think it's never really an extreme the way I see it, but my experience is as someone that just like really at least had to start going towards the direction of caring for myself.
Yeah. No, I like that because I can see it in, I won't mention who, but people that are close to me. I can see how they self-sacrifice because that is the expectation. That is how, they're the last person that they're going to consider ever. And they might not even be considered because they're there for their children, they're there for their parents, they're there for their family. And then what is that life for? Then you exist for others, but not for yourself. And
Exactly.
it's an empty life. It's not a fulfilling life.
It's not. It's
It's a
not.
sad
And I'm not
life.
sure what yeah, and I guess I'm not sure exactly what the point of that is.
Hmm.
Um because I think you can be so much better towards others when you're also being actually right towards yourself. I don't think like your inner child or yourself deserves to be sacrificed constantly for the
Yeah.
sake of other people's needs.
Yeah. The youth of today is so wise. My goodness. The resources that you all have. Well,
Yeah,
I remember when
yeah,
internet became, that's how
for
old I am.
sure. For sure. You're right. It's the resources that we have and the tools that we have
Yeah.
is it's insane. Yeah. And I mean I'll speak to like 18-year-olds today and I'm like, oh my God, you know so much.
Wow.
Which is
Wow.
what like someone that's 30 will tell me, it's funny, but I feel that so much more towards um the younger people that I meet. I'm like, wow, well, you're so wise for like 18, 19.
Yeah. It's nice though. It's nice to see it.
Yeah.
Because I've had clients who are 20 and 23 and they're doing
Yeah.
amazingly well. I'm like, wow, the energy and the drive that you have and the resourcefulness, audacity as well, to actually go through with the ideas that you have is pretty amazing. But it's also so fulfilling to see it because you're like, this this feels good. This looks good. And you won't spend a lifetime not knowing who you are because you already do know who you are. You won't have this midlife crisis, or maybe you will and you'll be transitioning,
Definitely. Yeah, yeah.
but it won't be all the way in the 40s. You're like, oh my gosh, what have I done with my life? What have I accomplished? What is next?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's
Yeah.
everyone either. So when you and I met, we talked about human design as well. Do you remember what your human design was? I can't.
Not only do I remember, but I actually went on a little rabbit hole because I ended up having a couple more conversations.
Hmm.
You were the first one those days, but then a couple more people mentioned it to me. And so I did like my full human design report
Yes.
through this woman, probably know her, Erin Claire Jones, I think, right?
I don't know her
So
personally, but I know of her.
yeah, I know of her.
Yeah.
So I like got my full human design report from her website and I found it super insightful. So I like read through it. It was 60 pages. I was like, okay, I am taking notes. It was really interesting. So mine is just generator.
Not just generator. It is generator.
Yeah.
You make it
I
sound so
feel, to
dismissive.
be honest, everyone around me is a manifesting generator. So I'm like, okay, then
Mm.
I guess I'm just generator over here.
It's just different. That's all. That's not just generator. Pure generator. I think it's called pure generator
Uh-huh.
sometimes to make it seem like it's just the one thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fair. No, valid. I don't mind that at all. Like it's I feel like it's a very fitting when I read about it.
Yeah. I like going through it. For me, it's also a really good connection point because I get to know people quite quickly through I'm a projector.
Oh, nice. I don't think I've ever met anyone else that's a projector. I mean, at least from the people that knew their human design.
You probably have you done the human design of all of your staff, your employees?
No.
I would do that. Oh yeah, because then you'll know how to manage them. You'll be like, oh, I think
No.
so. If you have projectors, you'll know that you need to give them lots of recognition. And if you have generators, if they're manifesting generators, they need several projects. If they're generators, keep them focused on one thing that lights them up. Let them trust their gut if they need to. And
That's
if
so
you have
good.
manifestors, you're like, okay, you'd be really good at sales. Let's go.
I loved seeing it like for my friends or my boyfriend being like, okay, interesting, insightful.
Yeah. It's a fun part.
Yeah.
How has spirituality and this other side of, well, I'll just say spirituality played a role in your life at the moment, or
Ooh,
ever?
huge role. Well, it's funny. I was having this conversation this morning actually, but and I kind of did a deep dive into how it started for me. But I think spirituality is very integral to my life because I feel very. I think I've just really seen the effects of spirituality in my life in so many ways.
Mhm.
Since I was maybe around 16, and the whole world of mindfulness, manifestation, spirituality has been like really at the core of I think everything I've accomplished and how I felt throughout my life. And so I like to me it's kind of like it's really just like a very central part of life. And I can't imagine like I don't even know like kind of where to start, but I can't imagine living my life without being spiritual right now or ever,
Mhm.
just because I really see how like guided and protected I am by the universe constantly. And I mean, it is what it is for me. Like it really is what it is. Like I'm very grateful.
Do you have any rituals?
I journal a lot. I love asking the universe for signs. Always get them. Um,
I never get signs. What are you asking for, and how are you getting them?
so my best spiritual friend taught me that. She
Okay.
used to do it all the time. It's kind of my life hack, genuinely. But whenever I'm faced with something difficult, a decision, whenever I don't know if I can trust in something or, anything like that, I'll just have a little meditation. Also, meditation, of course, another ritual, but I'll have a little meditation and then really ask the universe, like, if I should do this, show me like this, and I'll just say the first thing that comes to my mind. It can be anything.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I should do that, show me that. Usually it's like an animal or something. Sometimes I'll see the same thing like 20 times of the day. Like it's yeah. So most of the time I really do get somewhere. And yeah, I think it's just something I've been doing for so long. And it's helped me make really difficult decisions that later on I saw were really important. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm like, how can I take a leap and make such a big decision that's so scary? But if I get this sort of validation from the universe after so many years of really practicing spirituality and really like not needing any more convincing, I'll do it. And then I'm like, well, that was obviously the right choice, because it always really ends up being the right choice.
Okay, so the key here is to ask a clear question and just intuitively, whatever pops into mind for the sign to be,
Yeah.
that
Hmm.
be it. Okay,
Yeah.
maybe I overthink it. Like the whole sign thing. People talk about like, oh, this is my spirit. Like I am spiritual, but I haven't done this thing. So like when they have like, oh, I've got a spirit animal, I got a sign from the universe. I'm like, what is a sign? What sign? Like I
That's
want to
so
talk to
funny.
the universe too.
Yeah. Yeah. You should. You should. Yeah. I think like there's been just so many. Like I think there's been times before, right before a huge change was coming in my life, where I would see the same angel number 20 times a day. I would actually go crazy. I was like, why am I seeing this number 20 times in a day? It literally was driving me insane. And then like 2 days later, something huge would happen that was like stressful, but really was for the best. And I was like, like I just always see these things, and it helps me to have faith and to not like not and to really have faith that things are going to be okay.
Yeah. You know, the psychologist in me is saying, oh, that's confirmation bias and that's availability bias.
Probably.
I'm just like, screw that. It doesn't matter. It's making you feel good. Love it.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, and I'm like happy to have a cognitive bias if it
Yeah,
helps.
bring
Like
it on.
if it's like a harmless thing like this, then I'm like, it's the same as something like being a placebo. I'm like, well, if it works, it works, it works.
Yeah.
That's
I love a placebo effect. Bring it on
right. Yeah, bring it on if it works. So like
if
that's
it
what
works.
manifestation is.
Exactly. Okay. So what are you working on? Like what's next for you?
I a lot classic. It's a lot of different things. I'm very like multi hyphenate creative person, so it's always a bit of like a day in, day out, whatever's inspiring me the most will get the most of my attention and excitement. But I'm very consistently working on my writing and my Substack, which is where I'm finding it really nice to build a community and share everything I learn.
Mm.
I find that very fulfilling. So growing that, and then another book eventually. Would love. Not
Mm.
yet, but eventually, like soon enough. And then I'm also very interested in expanding upon my photography, which has been one of my biggest creative passions since I can remember. And I think
Mm.
I am, and one of my biggest dreams always has been to like do more of that. And I think I've just realized this year, um, like, why don't I give myself the chance to fully pursue this more in the directions that interest me?
Mhm.
It was kind of like, why don't I just do what I want?
Lovely.
So I'm doing more of that and more of my creative passions, hopefully. Yeah. How about you?
There are a couple of big things if I do them, but I'm for the first time a little bit overwhelmed by
Mhm.
the size of the thing that I'm thinking about. So I'm not going to mention it here
Oh,
just yet. Maybe
exciting.
off camera I can do it, or
Uh-huh.
off podcast. Because if I don't do it, then everyone will be like, "Oh, so did you do that thing?" And I'll be like, "Which thing? No, I didn't do it. Otherwise, you would hear about it." I've been in a
Yeah.
creative drought. I've been so busy with clients and I feel like I don't have a lot of time for myself. So I might want to rejig how I'm doing client work so that I get a
Yeah.
little bit more time for me to sit in just a creative space. I was just talking to the person I was speaking to before, the Gen X specialist.
Yeah.
Actually, she's not a Gen X specialist. She's actually accessibility specialist, but she
Uh-huh.
focuses on Gen X.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah.
and like today, my brain is everywhere.
Don't worry.
Oh, I
It
can't remember
happens.
what my thought. I was talking about something and I've completely lost my.
About what is exciting you, what you're
Oh
working
yeah,
on.
no, we were talking about creativity and how
Yeah.
creativity needs space. And
Mm-hmm.
even if you're like, oh, I've got a couple of hours, you can't just turn the tap on. Like it just
Yeah,
doesn't. Just because you're sitting there, it doesn't mean that it's going to come to you.
for sure. Yeah.
Exhaustion, like there's just so much, since you and I've met, I feel like I was nonstop before and I'm nonstop still. And I'm like, I just need some me time. I just
For
need some
sure.
time where
Yeah.
nobody can text me. I can go away. I want to be on an island and I want to just think. So
Yeah, yeah, I get that. Have some creative space.
creative space
Mm.
with just time to really explore the ideas. So there are a couple of things in the pipeline.
I hope you get that space.
Me too. But I have to create it. Like nobody is taking it from me. It is in my
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah.
yeah. How are you? We're running out of time, but I do
Mhm.
have one thing I want to touch upon, which is AI. Not I can have this as long as I want, actually. Who's running out of time? But AI, how are you embracing AI? What do you feel about it? What's the future? Tell us. Tell us
Oh,
all.
um, many thoughts. Well, from the side of like being a writer, I'm so tired. I'm so tired of really boring writing everywhere because it's all written by AI.
Yeah.
I'm just I'm tired. That's the best way to put it. Is like I really love words and I love writing, and now everyone is cutting corners in creativity, and everything is written with AI, and it's so boring.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's like I don't know where that's going, and that concerns me. I feel like when we're in a creative writing crisis, and brands used to care about developing unique voices, and people used to care about expressing their thoughts
Mm.
authentically, and now ChatGPT is doing that for everyone, and it
Yeah.
all sounds the exact same, and I don't care to read it.
Yeah.
I don't know who does, but I just tired. But on the second side, I love AI for a lot of things, and I definitely use AI for a lot of things. Um, when it comes to, well, I'd say one of the most helpful things I've found has been sort of like exploring myself more, like um, introspecting with the help of AI. I think there's like a very specific kind of person that like loves to do that, and I love to do that. It's like maybe if you love reading your human design report, like this is for you. But I just love using AI to help me with analyzing things um, about myself that I'm trying to understand better and getting different perspectives.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think that's been really cool. And also helping me with sort of organizing my very like ADHD brain with 10 creative pursuits at one time. It's like,
Mhm.
how do I tie all these together? What can I do? Like sort of personal brainstorming. That's been pretty rewarding. So I'm quite like, on one hand, definitely taking advantage. On the other hand, very wary of AI's effect on creative industries.
Yes.
Of course. But yeah, I'm like slightly terrified to see like where the limit is in the sense of like I don't know what's stopping nonfiction books from being printed that are fully written with AI. And
I know.
I like do not want to read that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like I have a lot of fears for sure, but also it's quite exciting to think of how much we can do. How about you?
It's a similar opinion, really, and
Uh-huh.
I'm part of the problem. I've been using AI for writing because I'm just so tired, like I've said, and
Yeah.
then I'm like I'm so tired of producing shit. Like, what is this? Even though I feed into the AI what I want to say, then it spits it out in a different way. I'm like, don't change my words. My words were powerful there. Why are you changing them?
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, stop taking the lazy route, which is clearly what I've been doing. So I'm pissed off with AI because I can I use it enough to recognize it, which means that people are recognizing it in mine as well.
For sure.
I'm pissed off with it because it's making people think less. I'm like, you weren't meant to replace the thinking. You're meant to, well, maybe that is what they want, but like we want to optimize our, like, all the menial tasks. We don't really want it to be more smarter than us.
Yeah.
Do we? Maybe. It's
Mm-hmm.
at the same time such a phenomenal thing. I'm like, wow. I just the same way. I'm like, I want you to play the devil's advocate with me. I have this idea. I want you to ask me a gazillion
Exactly.
questions and
Yeah.
have me answer them. And then, I don't have to get my husband involved who's busy. I'm like, play the devil's advocate with me. What do you think?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
I don't want it for its opinion. I want it to just question, and I think that's quite
Yeah.
nice.
Or sometimes even to mirror you, really.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes you just need like to have a conversation like with yourself.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I think there's a lot of cases like that. Yeah, you're right.
But I'm also fearful the same way, fearful of where this will go and how fast it's moving. And
Yeah.
I know that so many of my clients and people who are wanting to work with me, they're like, will I have a future? Because most of them are in the design space. So they're designers. There are lots of different creators, photographers, and some in marketing as well. But they're worried. They're like, why would they come to me when they have AI? I'm like, well, we need to position you differently. Currently, they don't have taste, they don't have courage, they don't have anything of that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it becomes one of those questions.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you see it next year? Because we can't go any further in the future.
God. Um, Probably better at writing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because I think it's very like I think that's probably an easy fix. Um, all of there's like 5 or 10 things that we could name that are very AI in writing and are currently a problem. I imagine like these shouldn't be that hard to bypass. Um, so I imagine it's gonna get better at writing in that sense. And so yeah, I don't know. I can't better at visuals, better at like realism.
Mm.
Um, on the other hand, I find it exciting in terms of making entrepreneurship more accessible and how people can build with AI, which is like, sorry to the software engineers listening. Like as a non-technical person, I'm like, this is great. But I definitely I hear you. Um, but yeah, I think that's like pretty cool in the sense that like I talk a lot in my book about the digital native advantage and how many things we can do through the internet to really like build unconventional careers and create things and build things that like we um haven't yet learned how to do. And it's just like making that a lot easier. It's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah. As with most, innovations, I would probably say.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I agree.
That's the wrap. How can people find you? Can people connect with you?
Yes, absolutely. People can connect with me anywhere, LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm very easy to find because my name's very SEO friendly. So literally anywhere. Substack is just erifili.substack.com. But yeah, I'll see it wherever it is. But yeah, I would love to connect with anyone.
You know, I'm not finishing just yet. I have one final question.
Tell
You're in
me.
the marketing space. A lot of my clients, they hate marketing. I mean, who doesn't? I mean, I love it, but like most people don't.
I get it. I get it.
What is there something like if we were to actually give someone a tip about what to think of in the present space that we're in, not future, just like what's working right now? Do you have anything that comes to mind?
What's working?
I don't know. The
Hmm.
complaints that I'm getting are nobody sees my posts. I'm writing, and these people hopefully are writing by themselves and not using
Yeah.
ChatGPT. I'm
Hmm.
not reaching my clients. Like reach, everyone's like reach is so bad. I
I
put you on the spot.
well, my answer is that, and I mean maybe it's wrong, but I do believe
Mhm.
that like if you're writing by yourself, so no AI, and you are doing it consistently, you will get the reach. It's almost impossible to go wrong. Um, I think most people not getting reach, it's because content seems unoriginal in the case of AI, or because it just hasn't been long enough. And it does take time to build an audience and build reach. I really think a mix of consistency and authenticity is the key in these things. It just really takes some patience. It's nothing groundbreaking. It's really just expressing whatever you're interested in and whatever is true to you, and not getting disheartened when it's been 3 months and you don't have the reach you want yet. Just keeping it going, but also giving back, like having a more community-driven approach, engaging with other people online, helping other people, spotlighting them. Yeah, like giving to your community as much as you take is also quite helpful. But I think that it's almost like, with people wanting to build a personal brand on TikTok, it's like if you do it for long enough and you do it in a way that's true to you, it probably will succeed. It's just that people give up too early on social media, but the algorithm is not that much of a mystery anymore. It's just that we're not great at staying consistent with things that aren't visibly working immediately.
It's so true. And I actually completely agree with your assessment. I think a lot of people think like, I did it. Why didn't it work? I'm like, you did it once. That's why it didn't work.
Yeah,
It's too soon to make a judgment call on whether something is working or not.
exactly. So I think like once you know that it works, or you believe like the people that say that it works, then you just really have to stick to it and keep reminding yourself to have that faith, because of course it's hard to do it when it's not working, but it's like a great tool right now, and it's not really a mystery. It's like it will really work.
Yeah. Do you find that you're craving more in-person communities after being so digital?
For sure, I love that. Yeah, I think that like I always love um how much more rewarding it is to build in-person connections through like events that bring like-minded people together, things like that. So I try to do a lot of these, both like organize when I can and go to things like that. And I think it's been a big trend among Gen Z too, like craving more in-person connection, community, belonging, interesting spaces that like foster
Yeah.
good conversations. Definitely. And it's one of my favorite things about London as well.
Fantastic. Erifili, you've been absolutely a joy to speak to. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
being here.
You too.
And we'll keep in touch and see where your next book comes out and where your next venture leads you to.
Thank you
Thank you so
so
much.
much.
That's it for today's episode of The Creative Flight. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I invite you to leave a review. It really helps more creators find the show. For more insights and behind the scenes content, you can follow me on Instagram or LinkedIn. You can also check out my resources on ivymalik.com. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Until then, keep creating, keep pushing those boundaries, and keep taking flight.